Okay, good evening, folks. First off, I'll read our video disclaimer. This disclaimer is to inform all participants that this meeting conducted in person and via Zoom will be recorded for record-keeping purposes. By participating in the meeting, you consent that the recording may contain your video stream, including images of yourself, and your audio stream. This includes any opinions you contribute. Anyone attending the recorded meetings may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not. By staying in the meeting, you consent to being recorded. By consenting and attending the meetings virtually or in person, participants also agree to recordings being posted to YouTube or other distribution services. I'd like to acknowledge the First Peoples of the traditional territory. Armour Township is situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe. Armour Township recognizes the historical and contemporary contributions of the local First Nations and the peoples of Turtle Island. First up, we have one set of minutes. Council Township of Armour approved the minutes of the regular council meeting held June 9th, 2026 as circulated. If I can get a mover. Dorothy. Seconder Rod. Any errors, omissions, edits, comments? All those in favor? It's carried. For the reasons, do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof based on tonight's agenda? Okay, none noted. Okay, we have one delegation this evening, and it's with Danica, who is here in person for our recreation update for June. So Danica, over to you.
Kind of like a bit of a synopsis of what's going on. Our hours, I guess it'd be hours, are getting pretty high up there on the participation for Community Challenge. We got an email about that, and they just asked us if we wanted to join, and we said, why not? But we have lots of people flooding our Melissa's gates on the participation that they're doing in Armour Township. And then among our events, we've been inputting those. Ball hockey, we had to cancel the first week and then postponed it to next week will be our last one. So we'll be having our barbecue then. And water night for the kids. And then same with soccer, we didn't have to cancel anything, but it just ended up ending on the same week this year. But that's postponing the ball hockey. So we'll be having that again next Monday. Facility rentals, we've finally launched our Amelia program registration for that. And we've had one attempt and then she's had questions. So we haven't really had to fully do a rental yet. I'm hoping that the one family calls tomorrow and we can continue with that. So we'll see exactly how that pans out. Our day camp staff have started as of yesterday, and what a great crew. They all work very, very well together and all have a lot in common. So that's been really good. We've got everything they prepped all the month of July. That's what they did today. And they all seem pretty excited. I'm sure that'll all change when 30 kids a day arrive, but they all seem pretty good. We have lots of excursions and events planned for them. What's highlighted here is obviously not everything. We have our fun days like Crazy Hair Day and Science Day. We have a gentleman coming in every Tuesday to teach the kids skiing. That's not listed on here. That was, we had just chatted with him earlier last week about it. So he'll be coming in for about 3 hours every Tuesday and teaching kids anything STEAM-like. And some of the projects are just like ridiculously crazy.
Is he a retired teacher that just moved up here?
I don't believe so. He cottages up here sometimes, is what I've gathered.
Okay.
Jay is his first name. And so he has a business doing it, and he has a student who is going to be staying at one of the cottage. I want to say Day Springs. I could be wrong with that. Staying here, and she'll be coming and doing it every Tuesday. Along with our regular outings like the Doe Lake Beach. We're going to implement more emergency service visits this year. So we're really excited to be able to offer the ambulance base, the OPP station, and the fire hall all in one visit. So the kids will be dropped off at one location and then walk and do the rest. So that's something we added this year. And then the rest are all about the same we've done. We implemented adult beach volleyball this year. Our one summer student, Sophia, is very involved in volleyball. So involved, she just finished knee surgery. So prior to starting with us from it. So she will be running that program at the beach for us. And our intake has been way more than I was expecting, which has been really nice. We thought it would be more of a drop-in situation, but lots of actually kids and adults, kids and their parents are enrolled for that.
How many can we accommodate
So
per night?
So with it being drop-in, we kind of go with the seat of our pants.
Okay.
But we could play a full court if need be. Typically you do 2 to 4 on each side, which right now we could do 4. Like I think we're up to 9. I'd have to double check my number on that. But again, they have to, if they come every week.
But do we need to cap it at some point so that we don't have like 16 people standing there wanting to play when we can only have 8 on the court?
I think we should be fine.
There's been like, I've had people message me about it. Like there's a ton of interest. So
If it gets to that, we can open up another night.
or we could do like 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. or something.
We can definitely look at that. Katrine Family Baseball Tournament, everything's in line with that. We just send out the schedule to go with that. And then we also have the dance. So the dance, we're still advertising in hopes to kind of raise some funds to get a level field at the Katrine Community Center for them to play on next year. The registration filled up ridiculously fast for that. Usually we're scrounging around to find teams. This year we tried to keep teams away because we can accommodate 10 teams, 8 teams is probably our max. Workshops, we just opened up some more workshops with Christina Worth. Harvest Your Health, Understanding Prediabetes, and Build Your Brand. She's kind of the jack of all trades. So she's offered those 3 to us at a very reasonable rate. And so we're going to attempt to do 3 of those in the fall and then look into doing more come January, February when people are looking for stuff to do. We also just opened up a walking group with Joan Marshall, and then we'll be doing beach yoga as well. I don't think that one's advertised as of yet. I believe that comes out tomorrow. So
I've seen it on Facebook already.
The yoga one?
The
walking. But I think yoga might come out tomorrow. I believe if I've listened.
Do you know what day? Is it like Friday mornings or?
So Wednesday, Thursday. I believe the yoga is Wednesday and the walk is Thursday.
We have a ton of physical things, but like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So we've been finding that people don't want to come in on Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah, but that's like,
Yeah.
to have 3 days in a week where you can do a different activity.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been really, really good and very well received. We do have people for the walking saying they don't like that it's during the day. We have to go with what Joan is able to accommodate for it. So we just kind of went with that, and she kind of has a following already. So to have it, those people who are already kind of following, we're hoping for.
She'll literally have a following
Yeah.
in the walking group.
Yeah. We've been kind of strategizing different marketing and community engagement. We've reached out to different radio stations and been getting different quotes from them. We've launched a few different programs to see how they can best advertise us as opposed to just using the one radio station. And then after talking with Dave Gray, he had mentioned, we never even thought of it, but mentioned the campgrounds. So we've been reaching out to them as well for advertising for their seasonals. And then we've also been hitting up more smaller businesses. We've been finding that we've had more luck with posting flyers in smaller businesses as opposed to the larger ones. The larger ones, our flyers have been coming down. I don't think it's necessarily the companies that are taking them down. It's just a hot commodity to have your flyers up in those locations. So we've been kind of deking into the smaller businesses, and even stopping in and having a chat with them. They've been willing to share our stuff on their Facebook. So that's been helpful. Going forward, we are pretty much our main goal right now is to execute the summer day camp program. And then we are still looking for different kind of workshops to be able to offer the community. We typically run a mitten and moccasin workshop. We've been chatting with the lady about that. I think we're going to offer a mitten moccasin, and then she's been doing purses and boots. So we're going to be looking at that. But if anybody has any other suggestions on workshops they'd like to see, We're just trying to broaden our horizons. We've had lots of people that want to do workshops, but they don't even know what they want to take. They just like the idea of being able to do workshops. Girls' nights have been kind of on our radar with lots of people coming to us saying that. So that's something we're looking at for maybe the fall, if not January, February.
There's a business, this person came to her, it was called Olivia's Kitchen, and she would send you, you would sign up ahead of time. She would send you a grocery list, and you would make 10 freezer meals, but she brought all of the like spices and things like that. Like, so I think we paid like $100 per person, and you still had to buy all of your own groceries, but it allowed you to, like, as a community, come together, prepare these meals. And then you had 10 freezer meals, and they were all like very healthy and very delicious. So she shared the menus as well as the ingredients for something like that. It was just the spices and whatnot that she would include. That could be something that,
Yeah, if you don't mind, shoot me her contact info.
yeah. And I don't even know that, I mean, I hope she's still in business, and I don't want to take from her business by any means, but I don't even know that we could just kind of follow the same model. If you and Melissa led, we literally just like dump the chicken in, dump this in, that one zipped, next one. And then it was incredible. And because we have a commercial kitchen.
Yeah. We've been finding price pockets have been a little bit hard and kind of finagling with that. Nobody really, no, I shouldn't say nobody, a lot don't want to do anything if it reaches above that $60 mark. So we're just kind of, it's hard to find workshop hosts that fit that price pocket. So we've just been kind of, we can put it out there, but we need to make sure that we have enough. So we've been need to make this many registrations before we commit to it. It's kind of our thing we've been doing.
One of the things you might find helpful is to reach out to various organizations such as Women's Own or Magnet Adult Learning Center. They may have contacts through their client base that, and maybe there's opportunities there for partnership, or even DSAB for subsidization if there's, not to make things too. No, not to make the fence too high to jump over per se, but maybe there's opportunities there with their programming to align on certain things. I know Women's Own has done a number of kind of life skills and so on and so forth, but for their more southern clients, perhaps there's some value there to
We can make a bridge.
Yeah.
Good. Questions for Danica?
The only thing that jumped in when I read this was the emergency services visits, like planned activities. I was like, oh, no. Emergency services hall visits.
Yes.
So I guess you're not going to the new hall. You can't go to the new hall yet? Or
No, you know what? I left that in Melissa and Joe's hands. So we'll see.
The kids it could be like a life skills day. They can get a hammer.
Yeah.
That's right. The Amelia software. So you've rolled it out for other things.
So it's
Rentals is new.
the rentals is the last one.
Okay.
So all of our programs are running through that, and I think I can speak for the both of us. It's better. It's not perfect. We're getting there. But it's better. There are some hiccups, but registration wise, so we talked about day camp today. It's zeros across the board pretty much. We're not chasing people for payments, which has been really, really nice.
Okay.
And it's not when people pay for their programs, people pay for their programs now. At full pop.
Okay.
So we're not playing that chasing game. We're not playing that, hey, did you pay? We did last summer was really hard, and some of the families, we would have to stop at the door and say, we've sent you multiple emails. We can't take your child today because of, there was only a couple of them, and we knew their situation, so we were able to work with them, but we're not having to have those hard conversations anymore. There's payment plans. They were all able to accommodate for that. So that's been really nice. The rentals is the new one. I don't see that we'll have too many hiccups with that. What we did have to do, and you guys had passed it, was rather than having our rental payments how they were, we had to do for the hourly, and we've had really nice feedback about that we don't have to pay that $295 to rent it for 6 hours, because that was a big steep one.
Good.
Is your summer program almost full, or?
Summer program, even speaking with any of the other day camps or other programs around, we've all been kind of finding that it's a bit on the lower side. Ours is probably about at par where we normally would start our summer. We find a lot of the families will dabble in it, and then they'll realize, oh, my kid actually likes it, so we'll keep sending. So we're at that point. We don't have any concerns by all means. Our last week is pretty much full. And that was the week that we were pretty low in the last few years. But a lot of people were scared of that last week because they weren't expecting to have an extra whole week of summer. Because kids don't go back to school till November 7th or 8th, I think.
September.
Or sorry, yes.
4 months is.
So yeah, we're not in any kind of lurch by all means. And people are still really enjoying that. You can enroll for a few days or a full week. So that's fantastic. It's just next year going forward, we think we have an idea. We've still been working with Amelia and how they can roll something out for us on how to make it easier to enroll for individual days as opposed to getting a 7-page invoice. So we're just kind of working with that.
It's good.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Danica? It's nice to see the age range. Like you're covering basically everybody in the community, right? Which is great.
We've been very fortunate that way.
Yeah, it's awesome. Excellent. Thank you, Danica. Appreciate it. Okay, we don't have any applications tonight, so we're into bylaws. First one or two are for the shared services agreements, which we went through last night at the Tri-Council. So I guess if we wanted to torture the other two municipalities, we could push it back again, but probably not a good idea. Council Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 33-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a shared services agreement for arena services between the Township of Armour, Village of Burks Falls, and the Township of Ryerson. We authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and affix the seal of incorporation there too. Yep. Moving Barry. Seconder Wendy. Bless you. Any questions about this one? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried.
Sorry, I did have a question, but I didn't mention it
Okay.
until now. This ownership is a third. And other things are percentage wise. Jerry?
A third is for who owns the building,
Okay, thank you.
money wise.
Perfect. Okay.
And that was the case in the last agreement too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is for Waste Management Services. Council Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 34-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a shared services agreement for waste management services between the Township of Armour, Village of Burks Falls, and Township of Ryerson. We authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and affix the seal of the corporation there too. Mover on this one, Rod. Seconder, Wendy. Any questions about this one? All those in favor? Carried.
Owning the dump seems funny to me, or the landfill seems funny to me, because you would think that would be an asset that you'd be like, I'm all right. Have it.
Like I mentioned last night, appreciate the work of the subcommittee. That certainly, I think, sped that whole process up, or at least kept the conversations out of Tri-Council meeting.
I think it's working out quite.
That was probably why we had a 24-minute council meeting, because everything was already done.
Yeah. Next up is item 6. Bylaw for prohibiting or regulating the obstructing, encumbering, injuring, or fouling of highways and bridges. Council Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 35-2026, being a bylaw to prohibit and regulate the obstruction of encumbrance, injury, or fouling of highways and bridges within the Township of Armour, and further authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute the bylaw and affix the corporate seal there too.
Sure.
From that one, Rod.
Sure.
Jerry.
But I do have a question
Sure.
in regards to people dumping garbage on our roads and whatnot. We already have a bylaw on
We
that.
have a dumping bylaw. This one is, so we have an entrance bylaw that deals with when you're constructing your driveway.
Okay.
There was a situation where our roads department had did a bunch of work on a road, recleaned, surface treated it. And then somebody decided that they were going to do extensive work on their private road and damaged it. So that we had no recourse, couldn't do anything. This bylaw actually has been sitting as a draft for about a year in my inbox. And it's our first amendment to the AMPS bylaw. I need clarification on this one with bylaw to determine whether they wanted strictly AMPS or whether they wanted to bring it into POA, but they said strictly AMPS with this one. So they're going to start stepping away from the POA a bit. But so
I've seen evidence of even construction of new places.
Yeah.
On a resurfaced road that's had a nice new surface on it.
Yeah.
And through that construction process, there's a lot of damage done right at the entrance.
yeah, it's one thing if when you're constructing your new driveway, but there's nothing after that, right? So this is giving the administrative monetary penalties, bringing them the penalty system in for damaging our roads.
So right now, if you have a driveway entrance and it's existing and you damage the road by bringing in heavy equipment, you're going to have to pay $1,000 for it. That's what this bylaw said.
It could, depending on the circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one was a little more than just a gravel truck and a bit of damage. It was a lot more than that.
Do we have a lot of people building porches on our roads?
It's still there. It's the road allowance.
I was like, this is the strangest thing. And I was like, I also need to know who fouled the bridge. Why is this coming to be?
Could be an accident.
I hope it's an accident if they're fouling the bridge.
There's a few municipalities around here that have implemented this. We're the first to bring it into AMPS.
Any other questions for sure in this one?
The fees are consistent with what's existing in the current AMPS bylaw, so nothing's out of whack.
Okay. So we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thanks, Sean. Okay, this one, we may have to have some discussion on. I'll read in the resolution, but we're gonna have to chat about this one. The Council Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 36-2026 being a bylaw to establish a committee of adjustments and repeal bylaw 14-2026. We authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and affix the seal of corporation there too. The mover to get it in on the table, get Wendy and then Dorothy. So is there an issue with this one?
Yes, we are, our CBO is leaving as of Friday, and I need to have a replacement for my variance application.
Okay,
And the person that was willing to do it is our current road super, who's also an engineer.
okay. That makes sense.
It's just until we get a new CBO hired, I would like to have that member replaced so that if we have, my planning applications are picking up extensively, and I'd like to have this committee of adjustment in place immediately.
Dave's okay time-wise for,
Yes. I mentioned to him with the minor variance applications and the meetings beforehand, they usually run about 15-20 minutes, and he can come in through Zoom. And with this is usually with a CBO position, they're usually the ones that are coming to the committee supporting the minor variance ahead of time. And Dave's boots on the grounds and has the background knowledge. I think that he would be one of the best right now to implement temporarily onto the committee.
do you want to be our CBO for all?
I would just add that.
He's not that busy.
Switch notice hats. Just driving down the road.
Spare time for the CBO job.
It's maintaining consistency with.
Oh, that's a good idea. Good idea.
No, that'll work.
All right, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? That's carried. Which leads us to the next one, which is actually the one we had more of an issue with. Council Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 37-2026 being a bylaw to appoint RSM building consultants as the CBO, and that we authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and fix this corporation, seal of corporation there too. Mover to get this on the table, Dorothy, and seconder. I'll second it.
I guess.
Is that the first time that you've seconded something in this term of council?
I think I've done it once before. We'll let Jerry second. But we have to discuss.
We're gonna table this?
Yeah, well. Yeah. So a little bit more background on this one, Dave.
Yeah. So as of the writing of this agenda, the request had been sent out to RSM to assist with our CBO in the temporary position, or our CBO position in a temporary kind of way until we get our hiring process completed for another CBO. We had reached out through our shared service network, requesting some CBO services similar to what we had back in February, well, effectively December through February. Unfortunately, that solution was not available to us this time around. So we had moved to RSM based on it being building season and potential stress that may put on our existing shared service partners. You may remember from bylaw 11, which was the shared service agreement with all 4 municipalities, Lake of Bays, Huntsville, Perry, and Armour, that was signed and sent and is still undergoing review from some of our partners and has not been executed as of right now. So we have standing agreements in place with Perry Township and the town of Huntsville. Town of Huntsville, based on their current situation, is unable to provide supports outside of one particular project, and so we had moved to RSM as to not put pressure on our partners. RSM is unwilling to assume our CBO, the CBO authority for the Township of Armour, which leaves us effectively as of Friday without a CBO. So I have worked extensively with our partners from Perry, as well as our hopeful partners at Lake of Bays, to come up with a schedule that provides us coverage for the month of July. We ran into another hiccup late this afternoon, in that our existing agreement with the Township of Perry, provided they're willing to take over as CBO for that month, may need to be adjusted. So I've sent out for a legal opinion on our existing agreement to find out whether or not the current wording would provide that authority to Perry's CBO in the event that we move, that we are able to move in that direction at their discretion. So in my conversations with Perry CBO, we are waiting for that legal opinion. Hopefully we'll have that tomorrow. Best case scenario, they're able to operate under our existing agreement on a temporary basis. Worst case scenario, in the event that they are willing, but the agreement needs tweaking, we may need to host either a special meeting or bring this bylaw back on July 14th and make it retroactive to the date that they take things over. Again, the 14th hopefully will have us avoiding any statutory periods if we get new permits coming in. We have that 10 business days. So we may need to create some messaging on our website to suggest that we may have some delays. Our current CBO has advised that our portfolio is in immaculate shape. It is ready for a very smooth handoff to anybody taking it over. However, we need someone to take it over. So we got the definite response as of yesterday that the RSM will not be able to take over. So we're unfortunately, the advice at this point is to defeat that resolution, and we will need to revisit that. Unfortunately, that does repeal bylaw 11, which appoints Andrew.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, my mistake. So
If you defeat it, it won't repeal it.
right. If we defeat that, then we won't be repealing our current CBO. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used names there, but we won't be repealing that and taking that authority away from our current CBO. So there may need to be some conversations that happen as we get the rest of the information that we need to put a solution in place. So there may be a need for a special meeting. There may not. we need more information before we can finalize our plans.
I think we should maybe, Rod, if you could, and Dave, the Perrys, maybe have a little talk with our CBO and see if he could get us through this,
Extend things.
extend time a little bit, just to help us out.
Yeah.
It might be a wise thing to do.
Yeah, I've been very communicative of the plans that we have been making thus far. So our current, again, our CBO is up to speed on where we are at with things. We can certainly ask the question, but it's that would be a hope for the best, path for the worst type of situation. No harm in ask.
Yeah.
Do we have any applicants?
I will say that I am not very encouraged. We've had no application thus far. Hoping for a competition. We've had some interest from a couple of parties, but no applications submitted yet. No other applications submitted yet. So we currently have one.
I wonder if we could, and like, correct me if this is not a possibility. If we could look at hiring an intern that's not qualified to share with Perry. So Perry would act as our CBO, but then we would have an intern that would work with them in both places so that they could become qualified.
It's a little bigger than that because that one's got septics on the top.
Well, but I think this is not going to be a unique situation moving forward. We know that retirements are going to take the vast majority of CBOs from Ontario, obviously from Ontario. So if we can find a way to encourage educating and qualifying, then we might not be here in 10 years.
This is the hope, and this is discussions that we had with our other partners, our other shared service partners, who by virtue of this whole situation have been forced to kind of go in their own direction. Was building back better, pardon the idiom, but building back better such that we can have staff, a staff complement as opposed to an individual staff member. I mean, this council discussed that a few meetings ago of can we bring someone else in? And I think that is the idea. I think the single staff model no longer works with the current workload. And just so council is aware, we have also reached out to various other partners to see if there's an opportunity. We reached out to the town of Kearney to see if there might be some opportunity for some supportive services, and also reached out just to evaluate entry or support from the joint building committee temporarily. So we've exhausted as many options as we could. I think
Time because it's a busy time.
contingencies. At least A and B have experienced some significant challenges. So the current plan, I would say, is contingency C, and certainly grateful for the willingness of our partners who have tried to work with us to create a plan. Unfortunately, in the scope of this bylaw, we do not have support for CBO for RSM, so we are unable to appoint at this time.
And it's not just an Armour thing. So it's a perfect storm of a shortage of CBOs, and the individual municipalities are actually feeling the heat of building permits being down. So their revenues in the building department are down. And last year, I think there was an accounting change, Ali, where they had to, you had to take your revenue when you got it as opposed to when you got the building permit. Like you had to wait till the money came in before you could accept that revenue, or
wait until the services were provided.
Wait till the services were provided.
Yeah, so now we have to defer the revenue until the permit's exhausted.
Yeah.
Until it's complete.
If I may, and this might not be the time, but what are the qualifying requirements of a CBO? How would one become qualified? How long does it take? Could we pay somebody, a potential candidate that we felt would be strong? Could we pay for their qualifying?
I mean, we do support continuous education. There are a number of programs through the MMAH. There's a whole listing of them. Like I couldn't recite them all right now, but everything from individual sewage through to small buildings.
Building inspector, and then work your way up to a certified.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So what would it take to qualify as a building inspector?
You'd have to ask Paul Schaefer that because we did that with Paul.
Yeah. So you would have.
Is it a 10-month course? Is it your on-site training?
It's a series of modules.
Yeah.
There's, if I'm, and I could be way off on this, but I think there's 6 to 8 modules that you have to complete for various portions of the building inspection process. And again, I can get that information to you so you can have an idea of that, or we can chat.
Probably 2 to 4 year
Yeah,
process.
it's pretty intense.
So yeah, so we can't hire somebody today and have them qualified at Christmas.
No, not gonna happen.
So we're actually not in a position to carry this motion, just based on the fact that we're going to have to defeat this. So we have a mover and a seconder. It's on the table, but all those in favor and all those opposed, that's defeated.
So I'll be communicating information as it comes in, and working with Shar Shar and our partners to figure out the best path forward. Again, hopefully, the agreement we have is defensible to move in the direction we want to. If not, we will come up with other paths forward.
Any other questions for Dave on that one? Okay, thanks, Dave. Just add to your workload.
How soon can you be qualified as our CBO?
Yeah.
What's interesting is that there have been municipalities that have had to consider basically taking a singular course or challenging a singular course to be able to accept that authority and then farm everything else out. It's far from the ideal situation, but this is the report that I wrote was called this, or that I read was called the Silver Tsunami, and this is impacting people all across the profession.
Well, what did we read? Like, I think we were told 2 years ago that 80% of CBOs would be retired by 2030.
And I think it could, similar to conversations this council's had in the past, it could lead to further conversations about economies of scale and how do we have a multi-skilled department serving multiple municipalities, similar to what we're already seeing in a lot of areas and what we've offered before. Unfortunately, given our current state, we have to get our own house in order prior to being able to help serve others. So love to get back there, but it's going to take time.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. All righty, we're on to reports. And I should have mentioned, sorry, I forgot to mention on the calendar, there is no health council meeting next week because we skipped July 2nd. We figured it's right after the holidays. So first report up is DSAT meeting of June 11th.
Actually, it was June 15th because of NASDA.
Okay.
So that was on Monday and I ended up chairing the meeting because Rick still hasn't recovered well. But things are going well, and a lot of it had to do with the recording of the NASDA, what happened up there. Other than that, it was the report from Tammy, which I'll send on to you guys. But one of my computers died, and I tried to repair it.
With a hammer?
It's a Mac. Be careful when you Google something. Anyways,
I have more questions than answers. Great.
I pulled the ribbon apart and they didn't come apart from the motherboard. So I ended up with 2 pieces. Not nice. Mom not happy. However, I have found out that you can get a video monitor and plug it in and you're good to go. So I won't be doing that in the future. Make Mom happy again. Anyways, going back to NASDA, things are going well. Good meeting up in North Bay, which I mentioned at the last meeting. And things are going well.
I do feel like we should tell people in Zoom land, when Jerry says mama, his daughter is in the room. So it might make more sense as to why he's referring to somebody as mama.
Well, I do call her Mama.
Lady Di.
And Lady Di.
Okay.
And she's visiting Ryerson tonight, so.
Questions for Jerry on DSAT? Do you guys meet over the summer still?
Yeah, we are this year. Only because there was a couple meetings we missed in the winter.
Yeah.
So Tammy said we'll be meeting during the summer. It's sort of as we go along.
All righty, next up is the Historical Society. from June 15th as well. So I guess Charlene over here for any.
Just things that jumps out. Jarv's been appointed as the deputy treasurer as well as the vice president, temporarily, just to assist with some bookkeeping issues. And then the other one is the summer students started. Lily Kite, she's been amazing. Diane's very excited. It's refreshing to see how eager she is. She started promoting the community cookbook fundraiser. So that's out and circulated. Lily's actually dropped off pre-printed sheets and the boxes, like the drop-off boxes at the Legion, at Fell Homes, at the library, all these different locations, just to encourage participation. And she's basically bringing this to the seniors to get their recipes. I think it's going to be a great fundraiser. They're going to accept them till these submissions till September 30th. And then I think over the winter, we'll start organizing them. If people want to submit more than one, then that's great because there's different categories within a recipe book, but it's an opportunity to start preserving some of these, treasured recipes.
I wonder if the KCC could host a bring and share. Like if your recipe is in the book, we could host like a big event where everybody brings their recipe, like a potluck. But
that would be your entry fee. You got to bring a recipe to go in the book.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
November 30th, but
No, I was thinking more like after the book's printed or whatever, you could come in like the book release or
What makes this one unique is that with the recipe, they're also asking a story behind it as to why it's your favorite. So it's a little more than just your traditional cookbook. There's, a little bit of a history and storytelling at the same time. So
I saw Lily at the grocery store and she seemed pretty hyped up about it.
she is very excited. She's contagious.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, any other questions for Shar? Shar's okay with his dual role?
He's doing great.
He's getting paid twice as much now. Okay, next report up is the library board report from June 17th. Rod. And I think we have Navis on Zoom if we have any questions for Navis.
I guess we just, so there were the outreach program that they were talking about doing. I think the verbal response was they didn't think they needed it, but that was coming from the board, Fell Homes board. I just made a little note here. I was going to suggest maybe like Nancy's going to do the presentation or the initial presentation. And I'm thinking maybe instead of asking the board if they think if they think they could do it, like, instead of asking the Fell Homes board, can we do that? I think Nancy should suggest we should do it and see how well it's received. I don't get a lot of feedback. I don't get a lot of positive feedback from the board. And the fact that they said they didn't deem it necessary, it was like, well, I've had somebody that lives there thought it was a great idea, and somebody else on the board had said somebody had thought it was a great idea. So I think they should word the presentation just a little bit different. See what the people of Fell Homes themselves think of it.
They have a tenant board. There's not just the board for Fell Homes. There's also a tenant board. So you might want to talk to the tenants.
A tenant board.
Yeah.
All right.
The Legion could also potentially host it. Because I would think a lot of people from Fell Homes could make their way over to the Legion, right?
You'd have to ask Legion that.
The Legion's now open a lot
lot.
more. Yeah, like they're doing wing night on Wednesdays now. And so,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Fridays they're busy.
yeah.
Because they're doing lunches during the
And
day
then
now.
Friday night. Too.
And apparently the wings are awesome. I haven't been there yet, but I was told they're the best. So I heard better than Sunridge, but that was somebody that told me that. I didn't say it.
You just said.
Sunridge is awful good, so.
Sunridge is good. I wonder. And then it's also a social event?
Yep. I made note of it. The fundraising, I think it's called AMP in the old machine shop. They did a barbecue fundraiser and they donate $437 to the new library build,
Nice.
to the library. Friends of the library did plant sale. If I'm not, I wrote down $3,000, but I didn't get to confirm that. But and then the bake sale, the Friends of the Library did a bake sale. They got $650. So they're very positive in the fundraising for the new build. Not sure if I reported it a little earlier or not, but there was 191 tax returns done this year, and they get a credit of $1,350. That's per tax form. I don't know what form it is, but they got $1,355 as a grant towards that. So,
Regardless of the 1355, to be able to provide that service to 191 people is incredible.
I can remember when
There's a workshop for you.
there was 12.
I'm doing it.
Did you say it was 12?
No, like when they started, it was like 11 or 12. So like it's
Taken off.
190, like that's half of the village.
there's, if I'm not mistaken, I heard them say that there's I don't know. I don't want to use the wrong term or the wrong group, but like a social housing, whatever, will bring a group of 10 or 12 people, and I'm not sure what the actually what group was, but yeah, it's getting very well.
That's 191 is incredible. Like what an incredible resource. That's
Yep.
truly incredible.
What makes a big difference for people, like when Tammy was at the adult learning place, they found people weren't putting in their taxes and they're not getting breaks, like they're getting money back that they don't realize. So if they're just shown the basics and they get the return in, they might get $1,000 or something, which is a big deal. So,
Well, and even like any, especially if they're, over 65 or whatnot, any of those resources that they would be getting, they wouldn't get if they hadn't filed. So
It's not only that, if you're handicapped, there's an extra $5,000 or so too.
yeah, it's different breaks for
People don't know about it.
I'm so impressed. That's fantastic.
And like same old thing. If you're not on a computer, you don't know what's really out there.
That's right.
There's no newspapers anymore.
But when in my mind, when I think of the public library, I don't think if I need help to file my taxes, I'll just head over to the library, right? The amount that they're providing for the community is incredible.
Yeah,
That's good. Okay.
Except that I was given a plant and it killed the plant I put it beside, but whatever.
Anything else in the library, Rod?
no.
Next meeting's in August. Looks like. Okay, any other questions for Rod on that library? Next up is the Ag Society, and that was on June 18th. Go back to you again.
So there's fairs moving along forward. Everybody's doing what they're supposed. All the little groups are doing their thing. The one thing that we did, I didn't realize it, but Ryerson, we always taking care of the bouncies. Ryerson is always taking care of climbing wall. I just got informed today that about 3 years ago, they couldn't get Black Rock Climber, so they grabbed somebody else. I didn't know it's the same group that we're using. So there was like a flopple because the Agricultural Society had booked the climbing wall. And Ryerson reached out to me and said, am I booking it or have you done it already? So there was, so we've agreed, the board has agreed, Ryerson is going to book the climbing wall. And then next year, we'll ask Ryerson to just help offset. Like we're right now at Burke Falls and Armour pays for the balancing. So next year we'll just go to Ryerson and say, you contribute to the bouncies. And that's the people that are doing the bouncies actually have a climbing wall. And the reason it came originally was because everything that's in Possum, the day before they load up and they bring it down here. So we get a pretty good deal on set up, or we don't pay for the traveling and whatever. It's coming from Boston for that stuff. Aside from that, we booked the same tents and picnic tables, which is Burke's Falls is covering the cost of that coming out of the arena budget because we're no longer in the arena. So that's going down that path still. We spent a lot of time talking about what's going on at the fairgrounds and the liability that the board members are sitting in. Burke's Falls owns the fairgrounds. The Agricultural Society has a 99-year lease, which in my opinion puts board members at the top of the list when there's an incident. We see Burke's Falls as regularly using the fairgrounds. And I mean, Dave will know, when the Winterfest went on, we would reach out, say, we would like to do the Winterfest. We'd give a courtesy letter asking permission to the Agricultural Society. The village doesn't like to do that. They just go ahead and do whatever they want to do. They book things, not coming to the Agricultural Society to see, is this week available? Is this weekend available? So that's a concern. The fact that the construction company are making a mess of the track right now. We sent a letter to the Agricultural Society sent a letter to the village and said that construction company either needs to cease to use the racetrack as an alternative haul route, or they need to make it walkable, smooth walkable at the end of every work week. If you're bored, go over there. The ruts at least 24 inches deep. Good example. Somebody asked me why Dad was out walking at 20 after 10. Now, he's 87. If he falls down in a friggin' rut and breaks his hip, I'll lose my shit. They should not. People shouldn't have to see where they're walking over there. They're used to that being smooth. We've bitched about people going over there with dirt bikes, four-wheelers, ATVs, and just regular half tons when it's wet. They go over there and just love mudding things up, making ruts. We're in the process of posting what's the word?
Unauthorized?
Yeah, unauthorized vehicles will not be permitted on the track, period. There's a section that is deemed the Agricultural Societies, and there's a section that is deemed the ball, where the ball diamond is, and the access to the walking trail is basically out of our bounds. So beyond that, we're not happy.
So your board has director's insurance, do they?
Pardon me?
Your ag board has director's insurance and liability.
We have insurance, but the fact that I've sat at the village's meetings umpteen times, and the fact that the village of Burke's Falls cannot participate in an event, they cannot have their works department help at the fair. The public works people are not allowed help because of the liability that they're setting the municipality in. If they're going to use that excuse, that's my concern now, is the amount of liability that we're being set up for without anything. So we'll be on the next agenda to have a conversation. That took up a lot of the meeting. It was fairly heated about the disrespect of And I think it's just the general public, the public feel, and I think the village Burkes Falls feel it's still their property. But my name's on the hook as a director. Like, we need a little bit more, a courtesy call would be nice.
At least get into the specifics of who's maintaining the track and whatnot.
So we've complained, Armour has graded it in the past.
You should always do it for Heritage Day.
Pardon?
Do it for Heritage Day.
Yeah, and I mean, that was greatly appreciated. Everybody that walked that appreciates that it's smooth trail.
It was mentioned by a Burkes Falls councillor last night that, and perhaps what I took from the comment was different than the intention, I'm not sure. But based on the comment, I was led to believe that they felt it was the Agriculture Society's responsibility to fix that part of the road or that part of the track because it was the Agriculture Society's property, which would be fair if the village wasn't using it, or if you know what I mean? If nobody was using it except for the Agriculture Society, it would make complete sense that they would be responsible for maintaining it. But it's not only used by the Agriculture Society, so it just has to be fixed. That said, I did go there tonight and it's not as bad as it has been.
Okay.
I'm not sure if like something got drug over it. I'm not sure, but it like I was able to, without four-wheel drive through it.
So did you come down from the arena and turn right?
Yeah, and I expected it to be almost washed out because it had been almost completely washed out before and I avoided it. So I went that way tonight and there are ruts. I would not want to walk through it if I was unaware to be watching for ruts, but they certainly weren't as bad as they've been.
I went through it after the Eggs meeting on Thursday night and I had to drive through the field. I wasn't driving through the rut.
Was it wet? Or was it the?
It had been wet, yes.
Okay. Today there was no like pooled water and the ruts weren't as deep, but.
So did you guys ever revisit the agreement? Because there was talk about the agreement between the lease agreement and I never heard anything.
So a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Burkes Falls said we should get together. So the Agriculture Society sat down with the village of Burkes Falls with what do you want? What do we want? And the Agriculture Society gave them a list of suggestions. And where we'll go from here will be, let us know at the next meeting. And we hear Chris constantly say we should get together. Well, it's in their ball. Like we have asked, we had the meeting and we have said, these are our concerns. How will you like to discuss this further? Yeah. I'm not sure how the wording was, but we have still never heard a response.
John Wilson was still on council then, right?
Pardon?
John Wilson was still on their council then?
I'm thinking not.
I think it was just around the time he left, actually.
Yeah, it's. I think it was right after.
Okay.
He left. We've been a year and a half waiting on a response of a meeting that Burkes Falls called. We're interested.
Yeah, there should be another discussion, I would think.
Well, just like our bylaw that we just did, even regardless of whose it is, if you or your road work did damage to this, you need to fix it, right?
That's what comment was. The construction company are responsible for it. Did they get permission to do it or did they just do it on their own? We don't care, right? Burkes Falls has hired those people to do something.
Well, and there's going to be how many vehicles end up there on fireworks? 500?
So that's
there's a lot of cars going to be going through there in a week.
Yeah, so that's why I brought it up last night when they were talking about the fireworks, like because the Thursday I wasn't driving through it.
Agriculture Society should invest in tow trucks.
Yeah.
Be ready for next Wednesday. Make all the money they need to operate for the year.
So so almost every year that they do fireworks, somebody gets stuck in the lawn. And there's another 6 or 8 inch rut that Carl Martin faithfully fills up, grooms back out. Like it's to be quite honest, it's very inconsiderate to treat where we have the use of the grounds. We're not there to clean up there. That's lots of things. So they had a little, it's a gather, a social thing before the fireworks. They have kids' games or whatever going on. But the next day, the Agricultural Society went and picked up garbage. And I emphasized the fact the Heritage Day was a friggin' phenomenal success. And there was no garbage the next day. Like it's not our responsibility to maintain it. Not our responsibility to pay Carl Martin to go around and pick up all the cans and bottles.
Send them a bill.
Well, that's what we're going to do next time. We will do it. And there's a few of us that will actually go and pick it up. But I mean, same thing. Will they use the new ball diamond to let the fireworks off? No, likely they'll go to the back field. But when the last time the issue was, they made a mess of the western ring. They just filled it full of garbage. Like they're just, it's very poor. Like it's lack of consideration. Courtesy call would help.
Are they still billing the Agriculture Society for the grass cutting? Because didn't Carl?
No, they never did bill us. They gave us a registered letter and said it's contravening bylaw such and such. You need to cut the grass. So we cut the grass.
And paid for it.
And paid for it. So when Burke's Fall says, well, we'll give the Agricultural Society $1,000 towards the fair, but the registered letter's costing us $3,500.
But the grass is cut ready for fireworks that are.
It will be.
You guys cut the grass for them for the fireworks?
They cut the grass because it's the bylaw.
Carl has a schedule.
But yeah, the schedule is with the contract with the Agricultural Society.
Right. But there's no extra contract to go and cut the grass. Fireworks works also wouldn't even consider that.
It's just.
I'm just saying they're benefit, or we are too. Armour Township also contributes to those fireworks, but they're benefiting from the grass being manicured, ready for these events, but not paying for it.
So when we hosted Heritage Festival, Armour would reach out to the Agricultural Society regarding the cutting of the field by Carl for the event. And we paid Carl to cut the grass
Right.
prior to the
Through
event.
the Heritage Festival budget.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
through the
so-
Heritage budget.
So do we need to add that to the to the firework budget each year?
No, that's the next Burke's Falls meeting. It'll be all discussed.
Okay.
All right. Any questions for Ron on Egg Society?
I just had one more. I'm kidding.
Okay. Next up is Tri-Council, and we do have a couple of versions of a resolution on this one, but we'll have to have a discussion first, I think. So based on what Amy was saying last night, it does sound as though there's some late breaking news as far as the potential for the tires to get picked up. Is it today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow guaranteed. This is what
That's what they're saying?
This is what I heard at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, just before Amy left, between 3 and 4.
Okay.
And I made sure to double check, like, are we talking for sure? And she said, yes, that is the case. She did get a call from the hauler, and he'll be coming tomorrow.
Okay. So the crux of the resolution is that we're going to refuse to take any more tires as of July 1st or whatever date council decided on. But I think Amy's suggesting maybe we should just hold off, table this, and we can talk about it again on July 14th. And if they didn't show up or something else happened, we can discuss it then.
Well, they mentioned putting the word in the consistency piece as opposed to just like the one-time pickup now, but there needs to be a consistent.
It needs to be every quarter or whatever it's going to be. Yeah.
Originally yesterday, Amy said that she was supporting us doing this, right?
Right.
Until she got information.
Until she found out that they were going to pick up.
Would there be benefit to us saying effective July 15th? And then in the event that they don't come tomorrow, it's already ready. But if they do, then on our first July meeting, we could then pull it.
Well, if there's a conversation that Amy had with the contractor today, she indicated that the resolution would be coming to council tonight with the recommendation for it to be tabled, provided that it's being picked up. But I don't know about the date. Well, I think July 1st is
I would rather wait till the July
Okay.
14th meeting and see where we're at.
Cause it's not like we're gonna get 300 tires between now and July 14th, but it's just, yeah. And I'm sure that Amy's sensitive to the fact that maybe the guy doesn't show up tomorrow because his truck breaks down. And then if we've passed a resolution, who knows what that's gonna set off.
Okay. If that's the most supportive thing, then.
Okay. Do I need to read it in, even though we're tabling it? I can't remember. I think I do. All right. It would have to be the longest resolution of the night.
Let's get into the whereases then.
All right. Whereas tri-communal landfill has historically facilitated the collection of used tires as part of their waste diversion and environmental stewardship programs, and whereas the province of Ontario transitioned tire recycling oversight to a producer responsibility framework under the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act 2016, and whereas significant disruptions, inconsistencies, service gaps have been reported within the Ontario tire recycling system, which pose potential environmental, operational, financial, and safety risks to the municipality. And whereas municipalities are not mandated under provincial legislation to provide tire collection services and should not be required to compensate for shortcomings in the producer-led system, and whereas continued participation in the current system without reliable collection places undue liability and resource strain on municipal operations, therefore be it resolved that Council Township of Armour directs the Waste Management Administrator to immediately suspend the acceptance and collection of tires at tri-communal landfill as of July 1st, 2026, until such time as the Ontario recycling system demonstrates reliable and consistent service levels. Mover.
Sure.
Jerry, the seconder.
Sure.
Rod.
Let's table it.
Good idea. That's tabled. Okay. Thank you.
The only
You
other,
just needed Jerry's say. Just Jerry to table.
the only other thing that Amy had indicated was that the fire department was there, the fire chief was there today to assess whether or not I've exceeded its size and was a fire hazard. But based on the potential of being told that it's being removed tomorrow.
Yeah.
We didn't have an order.
You want me to scratch that one completely, the second version?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't want to read that one too?
Just for fun, just for kicks. All right, we are into correspondence. What time do we have here? So why don't we get through correspondence and then we'll take a little bit of a break. And a couple resolutions. Council Township of Armour supports the town of Halton Hills and requests the province of Ontario undertake a review and modernization of Ontario's invasive plant regulatory framework to protect taxpayers, municipal lands, agriculture, natural heritage, and local gardens.
Sure.
Got Wendy and I got Rob. All those in favor? That's carried. The ride share South River. Council of Township of Armour supports the Village of South River's ride share proposal under Ontario Transit Investment Fund, case number 2025-03. -1-312-631-6310. Wow. I respectfully request that the Honorable Minister of Transportation render a timely and favorable decision to enable this practical and much needed local transportation service to proceed for the benefit of residents and visitors within the region.
Sure.
Jerry moving. Seconder. Dorothy. Any questions on this one? All those in favor? That's carried. I think that's it for resolutions on the.
Yes.
I liked the information on look but don't touch health unit, animal bite prevention.
Yeah, it is drooling, don't touch.
I didn't know nocturnal animals coming out during the daytime was a sign of infection.
Hmm.
I just thought I was lucky. See raccoons on my walk.
That could be distemper too.
I don't pet them either way, but now I know.
The ACE is doing their economic development strategic plan on the 29th, so I will be there for that. So the deterrent.
I'm planning on being there as well.
Free snacks. What can we expect?
And I think that's it for correspondence. So let's take a break.
Just one more thing I was thinking. So I was asking Joe Reed, the fire chief, I've been noticing you drive around the countryside, the spruce trees are dying to beat the band. It's a spruce bug. I don't know what they call the damn thing. But I wanted to know, I look up the river from my place. Before the foliage comes on, the trees are it's just decimated. It's just gray mass of dead growth. Now that there's poplar trees, birch trees, balsam trees, there's a bit more green involved. But I was asking Joe, I said, I'd like to know, have they identified, my concern was I see this being set up for some serious forest fires. Like when you see down in California or in Australia, it's the dry undergrowth that is there. But when you can see how much dead growth is in one area, it's phenomenal. Like without the green leaves out there, and it's all over the place. The more you don't notice now. Danette and I drove to North Bay a month and a half ago, and all the way up, there's sections. There's sections that are done. A little side note. Our hunt camp's in towards the graphite mine. I've experienced 3 logging operations in my life out there. They've never taken spruce trees. They never, in 3 years, or in all my life, in the 3 logging operations that I've seen, they've never taken softwood. You go out there and look at the bush right now with John Wilson. When him and I were chatting about it, they decimated the bush. Like it is just decimated. But they took all the spruce trees. So I'm thinking they were trying to limit the friggin' spread of it. If it's dying, it's got the bug. If you get rid of the bug, it may be not going to keep growing. But it's a big mess. So my concern was, what am I better to do in my property? Am I better to leave the standing timber, or do I cut it down and sit on the ground? Now, what Joe said was right now, they monitor how damp the underbrush is. And he said, right now it is so darn damp, there's no fear of a forest fire, ground fire going on.
Yeah.
But having said that, the trees are standing and they're a tinder. And he said, well, they'll do the fire will go up a tree and travel across the tops. And then when the wind dies down, it'll drop back to the ground again. So my concern was, am I better to leave the trees, or am I better to knock them all down and have them in the lower growth where it's damp right now? He called, I think he said it was for the Bay. And they suggest cleaning all the brush from around people's houses, outbuildings, laneways, clean all the dead stuff out. And once it's back in the bush, it's not as dangerous. But he said there's such a lack of concern last year in our area. They moved the fire department, they moved the forestry, whatever they're called, further north, because our area was not a concern. But take note this fall when the leaves are gone, how much bush is actually gray. Yeah, so that's, if you've got dead standing spruce trees, Em and I are suggesting to knock them down and clean that up.
Yeah, that's true. My cousin's husband did that. He worked for the forest fire all over Canada.
Yeah.
And I had him back at the hunt counter one time. He said, Jerry, he says, you might want to take everything green down from around your camp.
Yeah.
For that very reason. If it's green, it's down. He says, and they'll jump tree to tree and before they'll go on the ground. But once it gets to the ground, it's gonna jump to the tree anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, 8:14, so they're 8:15. Let's break till 8:25 and then come back with unfinished business and new business. Okay, we are back. Item number 18. I thought this was, oh, these are all the support resolutions from the, for the rest stops. So that was the resolution that Rod and Charlene had put together in our last meeting. So we get some pretty good feedback, it looks like. So good.
Send you a resolution. Yeah, that's growing momentum with the
Yes.
support. So I'm compiling them all, and then when they start slowing down, I'll forward them all to the province and AMO and Faunum.
Oh, very good.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of support here.
Excellent. Okay, next up, we have item 19. So this one we kind of tabled at our last meeting because there were a few questions. We didn't table it, but we asked staff for more information. So Dave has provided that. So Dave, if you want to give a summary of the staff report.
Sure. So there's some questions at the last meeting with regard to I guess the process for the creation of the recreation assistant position. So I've provided, based on the records that I have available to me through our files on the O drive, as well as our council minutes and my HR files, I've compiled kind of an overview of what that process looked like. So just going through point by point here. So the recommendation was made, and you'll see the attached report and resolution. The posting process, which followed our internal hiring policy, and again was filled by an internal applicant. So the only thing that I saw that I could not seem to find record of in my files was whether or not, and this might be something, Wendy, you can answer, whether the employment evaluation committee was brought on to review that position. I could not find that file in my paper files. I did see an evaluation was completed in my HR folder in the O drive, but I'm not sure whether the evaluation committee was struck to approve that. So apologies for not following up prior to, but
Yeah,
I did
have to go back and check my records. I should have a paper copy, and I should have it in my files here somewhere. I didn't look for it.
Yeah, and I just noted that the evaluation seemed to be in line with the rest of the
Yeah.
grid.
I know the committee was not activated all the time. Sometimes our previous clerk administrator took it upon himself to do the review. So it's a possibility that it was done internally without the activation of the committee.
So I can
But I can
remember,
check
like,
that.
I remember the conversation extending the position, and possibly looking forward to making it a position in the following year. We were going to discuss that at a later date. I see that it has been granted in-house, but I don't believe this council was informed it was hired internally. And I think we should have, if it was hired internally, great. But I think we should have posted it. It was a part-time, it wasn't a position, it was a part-time position that got granted the job. I don't know if that was a policy that we've ever done before.
Well, council was asked to extend it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we didn't.
Which we approved.
We didn't get asked to make that job permanent.
So I just checked the minutes. You and I voted to make it permanent, actually.
I thought we had.
Well, I didn't know that until about 10 seconds ago when I read it. But I remember specifically having concern with it being posted internally. Do not get me wrong. I think Melissa is phenomenal at the job. She is fantastic. She's a great candidate. My concern with the position being extended is that it was originally posted as a 16-week. The first time it was ever posted.
That's my point.
It was posted as a 16-week summer camp lead position. So my thoughts on that were that the potential candidates would have been very different than someone who, if the posting was posted accurately, that it was going to be a permanent full-time position.
So that posting for the permanent position was done internally.
It was done internal, and we hired the person who had originally been hired for a 16-week posting.
Which is not unusual.
No.
Well,
That's typically the way we've done it, is that we would post internally. And we did review it October 31st. I have the.
Oh, did we? You found it?
so it was,
The committee did meet on and reviewed that position.
I might get you to forward me that email so I can keep my files up.
Yeah.
the concerning piece for me, though, is that I'm a full-time permanent employee at a school board. I see a job posting for a 16-week summer position. I'm certainly not going to consider leaving my position for a 16-week summer position. If I had known that it was going to be a permanent full-time municipal employment position, I may have, right? So and like Rod said, it was then posted internal, and there was a very obvious candidate. It was the person currently in the role.
Right.
So the wording, you're right on what it says. You and I supported the recreation coordinator regarding the extension of the current lead camp counselor contract until December 31st and the creation of a new recreation assistant position. We didn't agree we were giving that person that position.
No, but
We were creating it.
then it was posted internally, and that person was
Yeah.
the
But that's not.
Yes. My concern, I remember at that time, was that was it fair to all external applicants, because that person was hired externally for the 16 weeks? Was it fair to everybody, the greater population, that a job that was 16 weeks became permanent full-time?
I've seen it done numerous times. I've seen us hire someone for the roads department on a temporary or part-time basis. Person works out really well. We
Yes.
transition that to a full-time position.
I'm an example.
We post internally.
Have a lot of that.
And yeah, it's a pretty common practice.
I don't ever recall like this part where it says position and the draft task description for the position. I don't ever remember discussing it going permanent full-time. I remember the extension, agreeing to the extension. I don't recall.
And you sign the
And it was
resolution?
me, apparently. I just checked the resolution. It was me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, okay.
So, Ally, did you have?
I was just gonna say, we had a temporary position for a mat leave coverage.
Mhm.
And the first person that left that position left after 5 months. It was filled for another 5 months. That person then became permanent with an internal posting. Yeah. And they are now our permanent.
Yes.
That verbiage and that pathway is fully baked into our
Yes.
personnel policy.
Yes.
But in our posting of the original lead camp counselor position, I don't think it said anywhere.
We didn't.
It wasn't intended.
We didn't anticipate it because at the time this was a kind of our first shot at doing the summer camp, and we had no idea what was going to happen. If it had been a complete flop, then we wouldn't have been hired.
It was 23-24 that it was discussed to reassume control over the Katrine Community Center. And so essentially, even over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a consistent evolution over the path of it. So it's not, I guess, unheard of that it wouldn't have been anticipated at the start of that summer, but then efficiencies were realized and where we could move going forward.
And I, to be perfectly honest, did not know that we agreed beyond the December deadline until I literally read it here.
So, I mean, if council feels strongly that they don't like what's in our policy, that would mean opening up the policy for suggested changes. That's because basically what I see is staff is following the policy and that we've been using for.
I do think if I was to read a camp counselor job, it would lead me to believe that at the end of August, camp is going to be over.
Yeah.
So the job would
I
then
don't disagree
cease
with
to
what you're
exist.
But that, I mean, that could be the circumstance, and you hire somebody in roads to look after
Yeah.
the rink, and you decide, you know what, this works out better. Why don't we make this a permanent job and have the person in roads look after the rink instead of hiring a contract? Like, this is the kind of thing that happens all the time. And it's not council's job to decide who should be in the job. So it was at that time John's job to decide how he was going to go about hiring. He followed our policies, which was post internally first. If nobody applies, you post externally. Because at the same time, the person who was applying could have decided this wasn't something that she wanted to do. She only planned on being there for the summer, and she had no interest in being there full time.
And just because somebody does a posting internally doesn't mean the CEO is going to accept that to a permanent position either. Just because you're the one and only internally doesn't mean that you're going to get the job.
Right.
We have seen that happen.
I would be interested to see the original, and I mean, Melissa has been doing a great job for a couple of years, so this is probably a moot point, but,
I might caution that.
oh, sorry. The roles have been filled beautifully. I have no, I think the program is
So I
fantastic.
think what Dorothy's concern is, if I'm getting this right, is that the position itself was detailed as lead camp counselor until December 24th, or December 31st. And then a new job title was created, and it didn't remain as lead camp counselor and became recreation assistant. And that
It's completely unrelated to the posting.
job description being posted internally. I think that's.
Well, what I would like to see is the posting from March 2024 to see, because I didn't realize that they were a part-time employee. I thought that they were hired under contract employees.
No, we don't. So for temporary, we don't hire contract. We have to offer OMERS, all of that to anybody.
To our summer students?
Whether they're, yep, absolutely
Everybody.
we do.
That's the law.
It changed, the law changed for OMERS.
Okay. So
So there's no there's outside of the notion that we post a specific period through which they work.
we did.
Right. And now and then that was extended here to extend that position to the end of December to allow for the time for the creation of a rec assistant. Now, turning the table, while that posting went internal, had there been another candidate or another administrative assistant or another staff member, like everybody would have seen that equally, and they would have had the opportunity to apply. But again, I think at the end of it, I think I don't know that it was necessarily a flagrant misuse of the policy to create the position and fill it the way it was done. I think it was likely seen as an opportunity to capitalize on what was perceived at the time to be a good situation, and based on evidenced need for a supportive role within the department.
I took 4 phone calls. I had 4 people say to me, that position should have been made public. I took grief because it was done. And then just like Dorothy had said, I thought I had extended the contract with the idea of opening up the position. Period. You're right. I overlooked the idea that we would give that position to somebody internally versus opening it to the public. Just like Dorothy said, people aren't going to apply. They're not going to give up a full-time job for a part-time job. But if they had known it was going to turn into a full-time job, they would have been more than happy to give it a try.
Or even if that it had potential to turn into a full-time job.
Right.
But we actually don't know for a fact that the person who took the job didn't give up a full-time job to take that contract. I don't know that.
No, we don't.
No, but I had 3 people say to me, I had 4 people, but 3 people I know would have
So the
questioned.
only way we can resolve this as a council is to ask the policy to be changed. And the policy change would mean that every time a job comes up, we go external for everything, which means that anyone who's internally here does not have any, even though they've got more experience and they've worked within the system here.
Or we've invested into the.
And we've already invested in, probably trained. They're going to be on the same playing field as everybody else.
But if we
But they would have,
invested in them, they would be most likely to be the successful candidate.
So here's the other, this is one, and regardless of whether you take issue with this currently or whether you don't, I think is almost moot given the fact that we're a couple of years into this.
right,
The only time, and then so you, again, whether you take this as a potential lapse in judgment of previous administration, the only time you do not have to post internally first, or the only time you have, it's written in that you have the discretion, is if you're creating a new position. Right. So at that point, it would have been at the administrator's discretion as to whether they posted it externally or internally. So that what it is written in our policy right now for the creation of a brand new position, it is at the discretion of the administrator to post either internally or externally. For example, for the office administrator position, because it was a brand new position, while I had conversations with those who I thought in our organization might have an interest, I posted it publicly first. Because we wanted to attract support to support our existing complement of staff. So that discretion was available to the administrator at the time, but it wasn't used. The discretion was used to post it internally, likely based on the existence of an applicant.
In that case, senior administration has the power to make a decision whether they feel we have a really good internal candidate that should be considered before we go public.
But they could
Created position.
But they could also
Yes.
post it. They could, even if it was posted external, you're the person hiring. If you believe the internal candidate is the best one, that's who you're going to select after the interview process, even if you've interviewed external people. If after the interviews you still feel they are the best fit, and take this position out. If we put a posting out to say the rink, we're looking for a rink supervisor or a rink maintainer, one would assume that job is going to end when the ice is done, right? But if we have intention of keeping that person to also be our groundskeeper, the original posting has to reflect that.
Not necessarily.
It really should. Or it's not like, I'm not going to give up my job in the roads department to go take on the ice contract.
Well, I think you have to look at it specifically. This whole rec department was a brand new department that we were starting.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know how successful it was going to be. We didn't know whether 1 staff, 2 staff, 3 staff were going to be needed. So I think there had to be some flexibility based on the fact that we were dealing with a brand new department.
And I agree with you that if it had been known when the hiring process for the summer camp counselors was being executed, had it been known that there was a likelihood of moving that forward, then maybe there could have been a line in the job ad that stated with the potential for extension or what have you, right? There, like if it had been known, I question whether or not it would have been known at the time of hiring that was going to be made into a full-time
That's
position.
one little clause you could put in a whole part-time thing.
it's just to me, and I agree, because it did cause people to go, what's going on?
Well, it's when you,
I mean, how do you alleviate that? We're not going to change it. How do we alleviate that going forward?
Just add a clause into any part-time position stating that if it becomes a full-time position, that this would be considered. It's that simple.
I think,
Or to acknowledge if a full-time position is
Available.
warranted, internal has first dibs. I don't know how you want to do it. It's just the public don't like it.
there's not a world in which a lead day camp counselor position, in my mind, I'm going to think I'm going to be working in February.
Well, in
Those two, like,
in the scheme of a lot of students applying for these positions, they don't want full-time work.
Mhm.
They're looking to go back to school when all is said and done.
this pay, which I think is appropriate, but it's what early childhood educators make with a school board, and it also exceeds what EAs make with a school board. So when the job was posted, had it been clear that this is a potential 12-month-a-year job at this rate of pay, I think we would have had a lot of candidates. But people are not going to leave their full-time employment and the job started in March as a day camp position. March, right, or April? March, yeah.
But we were offering March break and PD day camp at the same time.
No, I don't think we had day camp until the summer.
We were going to offer March break and PD day camp. So I believe she was hired even before February.
Regardless. Yeah. It's worked out. I think we need to look at our policy moving forward to make sure that every potential candidate.
Just add one little bit of a clause and you're good.
Okay.
That gives you 2 ways of going about it, but you're covered for the public.
I wanted to bring this up months ago. I was too busy to even get it my head wrapped around it. Because I had 3 people say to me, just like Dorothy said, if that had have been posted, somebody would have applied. Somebody else had said, it's a shame it wasn't posted.
I don't.
Those comments came months ago, like they came last fall. And I didn't have the energy to.
Clearly the right candidate was chosen. They're doing a phenomenal job. The program is phenomenal. So even if we'd had 400 other applicants, just in the fairness of, right? I think we wouldn't post a custodian job and then say, oh, so you did a really good job. You're our new CAO. We hired internally, right? Because you wouldn't quit your job as a CAO somewhere else to apply for a custodian job with the hopes that it might result in the CAO position.
Yeah, that's not a relative comparison.
No, well, I think
It is, but this was a lead camp counselor that turned into a recreation assistant. Those are 2 very different positions.
Careful. Naming names,
No, I didn't.
positions.
Anyway.
yeah, I think if there is suspicion that the policy as it is currently worded could potentially be perceived as bad faith, I'm happy to work as operating in bad faith. I'm happy to as Jerry mentioned, come up with some wording. Like we always have that, we are an open and fair,
Yes.
the clauses at the bottom that suggest that we conduct open and transparent, hiring processes and policies, accessible, all that type of stuff. I can try to find some draft ways that we might be able to work that into our next policy update, just to alleviate situations. The part that I get hung up on is that I agree that if it was reasonably ought to be known at that point that this was going to extend further, then yes, opportunities for further full-time employment may be available, at the discretion of council or what have you, could be on there. I think, really I see it, while it does create question on our policy and process that I think we should be open and transparent about, I see it as a way to capitalize on an opportunity with the right talent at the right time. Again, do I see bad faith in the process? Not inherently, but it could go that way if depending on how the policy is implemented.
So based on what you, with your discretion, decide to do with the most recent position, you went out. You made the decision in that particular case to go outside. If you remember the history of this, it was 2023 when the KCC came over back to us. We didn't have a recreation department.
No, that's what, yeah.
So we started with Danica, but even your position
Started with a recreation
was brand new.
assistant.
And it was a half rec and half admin.
Right.
Before your man, yeah. Before we had the new KCC. And then we voted to make that a full rec.
Danica was internal. So
it evolved from a split position,
Yes.
right.
to a full-time position.
So we're going to go back. So I have a real issue with talking about one particular position or person
I do too.
specifically,
I do too.
because this applies to a whole bunch of people who are in the organization today, 3 of which I think are in this room. So we need to stop that.
Okay.
And if you recall the history of how that department grew, we had no idea when a camp counselor or whatever that position was called, that nobody on the employment committee, nobody on council could have guessed that was going to turn into a full-time job. We assumed that it was going to be Danica only for however many years until the program actually grew. And then all of a sudden we got on a bit of a wave and we needed somebody else. So the logical thing to do is what we've always done. Look internally. We've got the experience. This is somebody who can rationally move into the position. On October 31st, I have the email. We reviewed the position at the employment committee to make it a full-time role. And that's how it rolled. So this is not, there wasn't a conspiracy. There may be folks in the community who would love to work here. That's great. But that's not the way it worked out. I hope they apply for another position in the future. But there was nothing nefarious about what we did. It was at the discretion. And at the time, sure, maybe we could have gone broader, but would that have made any difference in the choice and where we landed?
Well, you can also run the risk of, so you go external and you end up deciding on the internal candidate anyway. That can create a public storm as well. As you say, why did you even bother going out?
Perception of favoritism.
If you were going to just give the position to your internal candidate. Like, it can go both ways. I'm a firm believer in the executive members that we have, our CAOs and our department heads, having a fair amount of latitude in the hiring process. I don't think council should be involved in it.
No, I don't agree. I agree. We shouldn't be in
We should have the policies we need in place and let them administer.
True.
I completely agree with that. I hope that it was not my intention to suggest that there was bad faith of any kind. That was not my intention. I am looking for the original job posting right now.
The individual in that position has more education and recreation than the recreation coordinator. If I can say that. That's what that individual specifically went to school for.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on, Mr.
Yes. Okay. So we do have
Under the ridge, we learned.
a resolution on this one. Staff report from the CAO dated June 9th, 2026 regarding revisions to the recreation coordinator position. Description be received and the Council of Township of Armour approve the revisions to the recreation coordinator position description and direct staff to forward the position description to the employment committee for evaluation. That one over. Okay, right. Seconder Rod.
I'd be happy to provide an overview of that position description because that was not a tie like what was presented last month. If council would see a value in it. So what was presented in this report wasn't the report from 3 weeks ago, right?
No.
Okay.
Would you like me to review that, or is everybody comfortable with it?
Everybody good with the?
Yeah, it was fine last time. It was just.
Sure.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? That's carried.
So just another time when we start doing policy, hiring policy, maybe we could have that conversation again.
I will still take away and look, and I'll discuss with the rest of our leadership team on clauses that we could put in there to look at that, to give that some sort of indication that, you know, in the event of a furtherance, so we can draft up a couple of things for the next. We update the employment policy every year, so that can go on my policy updates section of my board in there, and we can go from there.
Okay. Next up, item 21 is item 20 is the resolution from McMurray. So we're officially out of the CBO agreement with them, which is a good thing because we don't have a CBO.
So I know we're done with this. It did run in March, the first year it ran. The jobs were posted in February and it ran in March. So that would lead me to believe that there was going to be employment in March if I was.
Okay, next up. Apologies, Ally, I made you sit through the whole meeting.
I'm just here if you have any questions.
So item 21, it kind of started with the conversation around the local share and where the funds would go and making sure that it's kind of protected moving forward for the hospital bill. But I think this evolved into something a little bit bigger, Ally. So maybe if you want to give us a quick overview of your report.
So just looking into the hospital reserve. To find the hospital reserve bylaw, there's about 7 bylaws to go through. So we have an original reserve bylaw from 2015 that was then amended 6 times. So every time a new reserve was added, a new bylaw was added, amending the original bylaw. So not rescinding and redoing the bylaw. So I have 7 reserve bylaws. So in looking at the hospital stuff, I then decided that I'd like to bring forward at a future council meeting a new bylaw and reserve fund policy to modernize our stuff and get it all into one document again. So that's kind of the start of my report. And then the rest is talking about the hospital reserve, what you can do with the funds, and my kind of recommendation on keeping the funds with the township instead of giving them to the foundation. Okay. Keeping them with the township means that we don't have that admin fee. Since 2023, when we started funding this reserve at the $120,000 a year, we've earned over $30,000 in interest ourselves from 2023 to 2025, and it's cost us nothing. So to give the foundation our money and pay a 1% fee, that over time, that's going to cost us $12,000 if we give them 1.2 million. So why would we pay $12,000 when we're earning interest? In future years, I could look at investing just the hospital fund into one investment and locking it into that for a number of years if it's got a higher rate than what we're earning now. That could be a potential thing, but right now I think we're kind of good where we're at. Our bylaw stipulates that it's for the hospital. If staff can't take that money and apply it to something else through the budget, I would need a bylaw or a resolution of council to say that you're taking those funds out and putting them to a different project. So
for future councils, they could basically stop putting money into the reserves with their own bylaw, with their own resolution.
They would have to do a resolution or a bylaw to say we are no longer supporting this. Yeah.
But that wouldn't impact any money that's been put aside up to that point.
No. So we do have roughly 540,000 in that reserve right now, is how much we've set aside so far for the hospital. So that's hospital and local.
And the local stuff.
Yeah, it's combined into one.
So I just read, I got to compliment the hospital, and did I not read the funding that they got was phenomenal? It's been matched. So I guess as a fundraising group, that the hospital group would say, to know that we got X amount is great. Do they get the same feeling if they get a resolution saying we've set aside X amount of dollars for the hospital? We're guaranteeing X amount of dollars towards it. We're just not getting it yet.
I think we've already done that when we said we're going to give them 1.2 million.
Yeah, and I see, and that's what I thought. But it was just out of curiosity, do they see that the same as having the money in their hands? And I mean, I got to agree with Allison. Why would we basically pay somebody to hold the money when the money that you said we've made in such a short time, in 10 years' time, that's a major payment.
Yeah.
Just the interest.
That's right.
$11,000 is an awful lot of hours for our staff. And I mean, there's less than an hour a year that goes into managing those dollars. And even if it's moved into, whether it be a GIC or any other investment, that's a pretty quick transaction. So again, if you take a look at that would be the most expensive couple of hours that you might have paid for. And again, not sure. One of the questions that Allison and I came up with when we were discussing it was, we don't necessarily have a trend of rate of return. There's a lot of information that even if we were to consider it further, we'd have to be able to make an educated decision. But that would then still stand in the face of the idea of these are Armour ratepayer dollars that are going in for this specific purpose. And could it be seen as us knowing and understanding what's going on with those dollars if we turn them over to somebody else, right? If we provide those funds to someone else, are we accountable for those dollars after it's turned over to that organization? Now, you can tighten a lot of things up through an agreement, but you're also going to pour a pile of time into creating that agreement to the point where we're happy with it.
And then probably legal fees as well.
As well as legal fees. And then I could understand that there being a little bit of, there would be a little bit of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? A fear of a future council changing directions on those dollars. But to the same notion, we can't really make decisions on what a future council might do. And if there is staff that is guiding councils, like those reserve funds, you have to pass a resolution to move that out of where its intended purpose was. And I would assume that if that became public knowledge, which you'd have to pass at an open council, there would be significant scrutiny from public groups and resident groups. So I think on one hand, while we may not know what a future council might do, we probably should have a modicum of trust in staff to be able to carry that forward, and things can happen. And I would imagine in order to have an agreement with any not-for-profit that council would be comfortable with, you'd have to have exit clauses that would cover a number of eventualities. So if we went through the process of beating that around the bush, and this was around the council table, like municipalities usually aren't in the business of handing over large chunks of money to other organizations to manage. And again, we can't make decisions based on what another council might do, just to keep it protected, even though.
And I think the hospital found they wanted to provide an option that if a council was concerned about that and they wanted to have the Happy Gilmore big check moment where you hand it over and have the photo op, it was an opportunity to do that. So you could say this particular council gave $500,000 to the hospital and it was in the papers and all that. So they just wanted to provide that option. But the only way to do that is to actually give them the money. Mm-hmm. And it's probably not in our best interest to do that.
Well, and I don't know if the fund management fee would cover all of those. Again, the information we don't have at this point. If that 1% would cover all the legal fees to draft the agreements and all that type of stuff, on the chance that we may or may not, right? I'm not sure. Maybe, and it could be that they have out of the box, agreements that could be manipulated or what have you. But I would expect we'd still want to get legal review of all.
Well, you'd have to get, yeah, for sure.
When we reach our goal money, you can do that check.
I was just thinking, can you imagine if we decided to not do that and our former mayor would be like, pardon? What?
Oh, I think a lot of the resident base too.
Of course.
Folks follow it, yeah.
What did you say we get an interest in this short period?
Well, the interest is varied.
Yeah,
so
but
at some point, we've earned 30,000 over
that's pretty short. And then and when is I'll ask you, when do you think the hospital would be open?
It's 2032 if we're lucky.
6 more years.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just curious. I mean, at that point, what we've accumulated interest in this, and I would call a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's going to be $100,000.
Eh?
It'll be $100,000.
Well, that's another year.
It's a year.
We're setting aside X amount. That's the interest that we're hearing is what we're setting aside. Like
We saved a year.
Yeah.
Of saving by doing it, roughly.
Okay, appreciate you doing that. It makes total sense to just keep it within Armour's walls.
Actually, that brings up one little thought there, Rod. That MRI machine, is that in Huntsville?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I just seen that on
That was
the news today, so.
separate fundraising effort by
Yeah.
the Hospital
Excellent.
Foundation. They keep hitting it out of the park.
You have a resolution for that one?
Yeah. So the staff report from the treasurer dated June 23rd, 2026 regarding the reserve and reserve fund bylaw modernization and hospital reserve governance clarification be received and the Council Township of Armour direct staff to prepare a new consolidated bylaw that will rescind the current reserve and reserve fund bylaw and all 6 amending bylaws and confirm that no changes will be made to the internal management of the hospital reserve funds. Mover Wendy. Seconder Dorothy.
What are you giggling about?
Any other questions for Ally on that one? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Every time I hear the cooler, I think something's flooding. Every single time. I'm
It is, the boiling feature is, yeah, it's something else.
like 4 years in, I'm like,
It's in the walls. Mice aren't that big.
Okay, next, we have another one from Ally. Up next, this is item 22, solar panel system replacement reserve. Let me read the resolution in this time and then we'll let Ally speak. Staff report from the treasurer dated June 23rd, 2026 be received and the Council of Township of Armour approved the establishment of a solar panel system replacement reserve for the purpose of funding future replacement, rehabilitation, and or decommissioning costs associated with the solar panel system located at the township garage. Council approved the transfer of $32,095.24, representing accumulated solar generation revenues earned between 2016 and 2025, and currently held within the working fund reserve to the newly established solar panel system replacement reserve. And that all future net revenues generated by the township garage solar panel system be allocated annually to the new established reserve. I'm gonna move her on this one.
Sure.
Rod,
Sure.
Jerry. Over to you, Ally, for any more details on this one.
Well, in doing this fun project with the reserves, I found the working fund reserve is supposed to be to offset accounts receivable. Since 2016, when we installed those solar panels at the garage, that revenue has been going into the working fund reserve. But I've talked to Marjorie, we believe it was put into that reserve in error. And there was supposed to be a reserve set up for that solar generation revenue for the decommissioning or replacement or what have you for those solar panels. Because the working fund reserve is not for projects. It is strictly to offset accounts receivable shortfalls in cash flow, stuff like that. So she agreed with me that we should move the funds that we generated out of the working fund and put them in its own reserve for the future replacement, decommission, or repairs to that solar panel system. Since 2016, the only funds going into the working fund reserve have been the solar panel revenues. Previous to 2016, it was always our surpluses from the general funds that would go to the working fund reserve. So that hasn't happened since 2016. It's always just been the working fund. So we're just trying to clean up some stuff that we found errors in.
Okay.
So it's been going into the individual reserves then. Like if there's an under expenditure, I'll call it for the year, it goes into that particular.
Well, this solar panel revenues we've always generated revenue with the solar panel system. It doesn't cost us. I think
it just goes into the regular working.
Yeah, so it's going into the regular working fund reserve, which when I questioned Marjorie with the journal entry that we did this year, because that would have been my first full year end of doing this, we found that probably shouldn't be the case. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great. So we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Carried.
I don't think I did not raise my hand because I didn't agree.
Brad?
Okay. Last but not least, item 23, restriction on the landfilling of excess soil.
I can summarize that real quick for you if you want.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Okay, so this regulation treats excess soil, excavated soil, rock, or mixed material that cannot be reused on site as a resource that should be beneficially reused whenever possible, rather than dropping at the landfill and disposed of as waste. So effective January 1st, this regulation prohibits landfills and dumps from accepting excess soil that meets the standard on this table 2.1, quality standards or better, unless an exemption applies. So based on my understanding, there's 2 exemptions. So if Amy's going to take any excess soil at the landfill, it either has to be used immediately for cover, or where a qualified person, in brackets, I called it repeatedly a QP, determines that the soil is unsuitable for reuse because it contains contaminants without applicable standards that may cause adverse effects, contains invasive species, and should not be relocated. Another example. So landfill operators must verify whether incoming soil can be legally accepted, retain any QP declarations for at least 2 years, and review available soil quality information. So site owners transporting excess soil must coordinate with landfill operators, provide relevant soil information, and retain declarations, while QPs are responsible for preparing and maintaining declarations when relying on the exemption process. So this is basically a quick little checklist thing. So the only way that the landfill can accept excess soil now is if it's being used immediately for cover, or if she's going to stockpile it, there has to be a report from a QP saying that it's no good.
The soil in there, do we?
I'm not too sure, but it's an issue right now where I think the province is trying to prevent a lot of good soil from being thrown in landfills.
It's probably happening a lot in Southern Ontario with building projects and stuff.
Yeah, so this is as of January 1st. I thought this webinar was going to be something different, dealing more with ditching material, because we were discussing that as being a risk. But this just is specifically for landfills.
So I can't see that I agree with Rob. It's probably not a concern of ours, but like, when people bring something to the landfill, there's a tipping fee. If the dirt is acceptable, somebody's going to dump. Like, I can't imagine somebody has nowhere to dump dirt that is an acceptable product with, like, to haul it to the landfill and pay a tipping fee.
You're not going to pay to get rid of something that somebody would pay them for.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see in urban areas where there's nowhere, like, it would be, instead of having to haul it all the way to Barrie, take it to the landfill. Like, I can see somewhere where the hauling outdoes the.
We had restrictions when there was bridge work last year. So the fill coming off the bridge had to be accounted for and taken and stored somewhere, because you don't want it going on somebody else's property anymore, unless the township's going to take on the liability that there's invasive species in there, because there's insurance risk. So right now across Ontario, there's a lot of municipalities that are not offering free fill anymore.
Yeah. Well, the problem that you run into, and I would presume this to be a Southern Ontario issue, is the excavation of brownfield sites and putting the soil wherever it will go. So if you've got contaminated soils, right, I could only expect that there are folks that would take contaminated soils and go to stick them anywhere and say, it looks clean to me, but it's full of whatever it may be full of. And the challenge that we ran into actually had to do with our project managers not wanting to take any unnecessary risk, taking soil from this area and putting it onto this area. So we actually, there was a private interested individual that wanted the soil, and ultimately had to have the testing done to be able to get that. Otherwise, it's very stringent to the sense. If we'd have dumped 10 loads, we would have had to go and try and recover 10 loads. The only place it could have been disposed of was our municipal yard.
Or with on the same property that it was being.
And so there, again, I think that in some areas, in some geographic areas, it is a very significant concern and a very real threat. through conversations with staff. It's questionable as to whether or not there's, but as a municipality, we are held to a higher standard and have to try to keep account of it. But yes, to Char's point, it did call into question even here in this office, can we be accepting fill permits or fill requests?
Our road super is going to look into it a little more and obtain some information, but ditching material, all that stuff. I mean, other places, there's salt in that, so it's contaminated. I mean, we're going to be responsible for taking on studies and responsibility insurance.
But we can put it at our own.
Input it at your own.
If it's going to cost us thousands of dollars to give away some free fill, it's unfortunate.
This was this whole topic is a personal, it's home personally because I'm blamed for bringing dandelions. I got the roads department to dump a bunch of dirt behind the garage, so I had
Years ago.
a hole filled, and in that place, she said, we never had a dandelion, so you got them to dump that dirt.
The bees are happy.
Oh.
Okay, thanks, Char. Any other questions for Char on this one? The dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Okay, any other things we want to talk about?
Okay.
Council Township of Armour adjourns this meeting at 9:18. So the next regular council meeting is scheduled for July 14th, 2026, or at the call of the mayor or the clerk.
Sure.
Dorothy's hand and Rod. All in favor of leaving? Carried.